Today we're going to talk about stress and time management. A successful Fulton student is one that maintains their health and wellness, and this includes not only your physical health, but your mental health as well. The point here is that college is hard. The Arizona Board of Regents expects for every credit hour that you take that you spend 1 hour in class plus 2 hours outside of class working on homework or other activities per week. That's per credit hour. So if you're taking 18 credit hours, you'll be spending 18 hours in lectures, and then we'll expect you to work 36 hours on homework in addition to that lecture time, which is a total of 54 hours. Now, some classes are going to be higher or lower, but the point is that an 18 credit semester is more than a full-time job, and that can be very stressful. So the point here, to be able to be a successful Fulton student and a well-devil overall, is to balance your work with your health and your recreation so that you are a well person, you're put together, and you're able to weather these stresses and succeed in the face of all of these challenges. The first thing is to work efficiently. Let's start with the work part. Now, let's think a little bit. How do you spend your time now? How much time do you spend scrolling through news feeds and stuff like that, and just sort of idle time, right? There's not necessarily anything wrong with this. There's no shame in scrolling for a few hours on like Reddit or something like that, right? That's fine. But the point is that you want to set yourself up to dedicated focus time. If you're working and you're getting distracted by TikTok and Instagram and Reddit and stuff like that, if you're drifting over to those tabs, you want to try and make sure that you're setting yourself up to focus on these things. And one thing you can do is to manage your time well. Right? Time management is basically setting yourself up to make smart choices, to make sure that you have focused time, dedicated time to work on things. Planning your time, make sure that there's no surprises, you don't forget about anything, and nothing gets lost. So if you've got an assignment coming up or you've got an exam, you can plan your time, figure out exactly when you're going to work on stuff, and then dedicate that time, protect and dedicate that time to make sure you're focusing on it. You can By managing your time well, you can go from being responsive and sort of always panicking when something is coming due or something like that, to being proactive. You get it done early so you have time to relax, and it evens out your stress level significantly if you are proactive about how you manage your time rather than just putting out the most current fire, right? Scheduling is the first thing you should start with, and using a calendar system like Google, Outlook, or a paper calendar even can help with this, right? Add all of your classes, all your evening events and meetings, and make sure you're keeping track of it all. If it looks like too much, then you might consider start cutting some stuff out so that you can focus on what's important by prioritizing the goals that are important to you. Block time for doing homework and studying and commit to it. Protect that time. If somebody says, hey, we're going to go to the football game or something like that, and you've got a plan for studying, then protect that time. That's time that is aligned with your goal of academics. But if you have time later, there's nothing wrong with going to the football game. It's just about making sure that when you plan for something, you commit to it and you dedicate it, because otherwise you put the goals that you've prioritized in danger. Another thing that helps a lot is a to-do list, and it helps you track the things to do and when they're due. This is something that has worked for me personally extremely well. I really like to-do lists. I really like lists of things to do because I can think about all the steps that I need to do, and having it on paper makes me sort of not have to worry about forgetting something. I'm a very forgetful person, and if I can not have to worry about it, then I know it's there. I can plan for it. I can review my to-do list in the morning or once a week and look at what am I going to do today? What am I going to do tomorrow? How am I going to plan my week out? And I can have a good plan and make sure that I get everything done when I need it to be done rather than just before or if I miss something, right? Play is very, very important. It's important to have leisure time. It's important to sort of release the stresses that you've built up while you're working, right? Everybody needs a break. There's nothing wrong with taking time to enjoy yourself. And that's part of what college is about, is building, having a good time, having a community to support you, right? Be social in your free time, right? Go and hang out with other people. This is particularly important for a lot of people's mood and for their connection to the university. And this can help later if you're building friends in your social life. You can help leverage those friends in your academic life as well if you're in the same degree program or in the same classes. Try a skill-focused hobby rather than just doing something that doesn't have a outcome, like just reading the internet or like playing video games or something like that. Try learning something that will improve a skill that's important to you or just sounds fun or cool, right? Something like learning martial arts or model building or something other totally nerdy, right? Like playing Warhammer or Dungeons and Dragons or something like that, right? These are skill-focused hobbies, and there's been some research that says that people are happier when they spend their time on stuff that shows growth and improvement that is not necessarily their work. This is focus time. It doesn't feel like you're wasting time, but it's time that is self-actualized time. And you're probably going to be happier having done that than just like watching a movie or television or doing something that's more passive. But remember not to overdo it. You can get sucked into these things. Try to strike a balance between your work and the free time that you have available. Your health is probably foundational to all of these other things. Your mind, the software, sort of runs on your body, the hardware, right? Your mind and body, your brain and your body are the same thing. And the food that you eat, the exercise that you do affects how well you can think. And that's the primary part of your work at ASU. So take care of your hardware. Stress is a physiological response. So the stress, the mental stress that you feel is a physical thing, and you can affect it physically as well through having a healthy diet, getting lots of sleep, and exercise, right? Sleep is the number one thing, and it's probably the thing that we prioritize the least. We just sort of sleep when we can and wake up when we have to, right? But your mood, ability to form memories, cognitive performance, your physical healing, and immune system are all affected by how much sleep you get. You should get at least 7 hours per sleep at night. Keep a regular sleep schedule to do this. That means waking up at the same time and trying to go to bed around the same time every day. That sounds pretty boring, but weekends you can go a little wild, but during the week, try to get up at the same time so that you go to bed at the same time. That keeps you on a regular sleep schedule, and it doesn't vary. If you don't keep a regular sleep schedule, you're going to start to drift. You'll end up sleeping during the day, and that can be very challenging when you have to focus during classes. Limit caffeine in the evenings. The half-life of caffeine is 4 hours. That means it's half as effective 4 hours after you've drunk your last cup of coffee or had your last caffeinated soda. The caffeine in your body what it basically does is it suppresses the hormones that communicate that you're tired to your brain. So your body is actually getting tired, but your brain thinks it's not because those hormones are being suppressed. It also behaves as a adrenaline mimicker. So it mimics adrenaline, it mimics the release of adrenaline, and you sort of go into fight or flight mode. That's why you get jittery if you have too much caffeine, and that suppresses your natural tiredness as well. And if you have caffeine too close to when you need to sleep, you're going to have trouble getting to sleep. Also avoid bright screens near bedtime. The blue light from computer screens and from phones, or the white light from computer screens and phones, is very heavy in the blue spectrum, and that blue is a signal to your eye, and your eye and brain will release hormones that say, oh, it's daylight outside, I should be awake, and that can screw up your sleep rhythms and your hormones. So try to avoid bright screens. You can either use night mode on your phone or computer, or you can get some apps that sort of tint down to the red end of the spectrum, and that helps reset those hormones. Eating is very important and it affects your mind as well. Eat regularly. This should be a no-brainer. You just want to make sure you have at least a couple of meals per day. How you do this is up to you. You also want to eat healthy, right? So try to choose foods that have less sugar and refined carbohydrates. These are foods known as high glycemic index, and they're things like candy or desserts, bread, pasta, pizza, those sort of things. And these are refined carbohydrates, which means that they're easily digested. The energy gets into your bloodstream, but in response, your body ups its insulin response and it tamps down your metabolism. So you'll feel an energy boost and then a crash at the end. And that can affect your ability to concentrate and your ability to stay awake during classes and stuff like that. So if you're having lunch, try to have a light lunch that is a little bit more on the green vegetable side, or things that have a low glycemic index, such as rice, meat, beans, nuts, that sort of thing. The things that take longer to digest give you a more even release of energy, and you won't have that sugar crash after lunch. Make sure you get up and move every once in a while, right? So doctors recommend 150 minutes of elevated heart rate per week. That's a lot of time. That's more than 2 hours. It's 2.5 hours of very active work per week. And that can be fairly daunting for someone with a busy schedule, right? But as little as 10 minutes per day of aerobic activity can make you feel better. It releases endorphins all day, so you're overall feeling better. It lowers your stress hormones just by doing something active, and it improves your concentration and sleep quality. By having some activity, your body is functioning at a higher level, and that provides a foundation for your brain to function at a higher level. The best thing here is that the Sun Devil Fitness Center is free for all students. So take advantage of this resource. Go and walk on the treadmill. It doesn't have to be high speed, but walk on the treadmill for 20 minutes, and I will tell you, you'll feel better if you're paying attention to how you feel when you don't work out in the mornings. Or whenever, just whenever. Ultimately, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you're not alone, and we have resources for you. So one of the biggest resources is our counseling resources. The first visit is free. If you need someone to talk to, if you're feeling overwhelmed or something has happened in your family or your life or anything like that, and you need someone to talk to, check out our counseling resources. The first visit is free, and there's a lot of flexibility in the payment plans afterwards. They work on a sliding scale, so that's based on your financial need. If you or you know someone that's having a mental health emergency or a mental health crisis, call the Impact hotline at 480-921-1006 and talk to them. This is a resource for people that are in crisis, and you should take advantage of it if you can. The point here is to find out what works for you. There's a lot of different ways that you can maintain your physical and mental health and manage your stress, and it's going to be different for every individual. These are some things that I've found work well for me, that I've heard from students work well for them, but you should find out what works for you. What makes you the happiest? Take an example, take a close look at at how you feel after you do certain activities. If you feel worse, if you feel better, figure out what it is that works for you and do that so you can be the best student that you can be and meet your goals for your career.